And we're ready now to start making these objects interact with the HDR environment by casting shadows and reflections. And to do this, we need to create sort of a false floor. So let's start by doing that. Just turn on the overlays again. And I want to make sure that the 3D cursor is at world 0, so that the floor is exactly placed correctly. Because new objects always get placed where the 3D cursor is. So I press Shift C. That's going to put the 3D cursor back at the world origin. And now I can add a floor. So Shift A, and I'll add a plane. In fact, actually, because this is a circular environment, it's going to be better if we add a circular object. So Shift A, and then I'm going to choose circle. I'm going to go into camera view. I want to scale this up now, so it's about the same size as the floor. And I'm going to need to move it as well. So GX to move it on the X-axis, and then GY to move it on the Y-axis, and I'll just keep moving it around until it fits. It doesn't need to go all the way up to the edge, as long as it's roughly the right size. And what I want to do now is fill it in with a face. So into edit mode, I'll just press A to select everything and press F to fill it in. And now we've got shadows being cast onto this. Let's also give it a material. So let's just maximize this window. We'll give it a new material. And I want this material to be roughly the same color as the floor. So I'll just press E and I'll hover over part of the floor, and that's made it sort of a brownish color. That ensures that any light bouncing off of this fake floor is the same color as the floor in the photograph, which will result in much better realism. And next, I want to give it some reflection. So let's turn the roughness down a bit until we start seeing the reflections in there. Okay, and now we can hide it, but make sure it still renders just the reflections and the shadows. And we can do that by going into the object's properties over here. Under visibility, we can now turn on something called the shadow catcher. So this is for cycles only. If you can't see this, you've not got cycles selected here. You need to make sure you've got a cycle selected. So back down into the object properties, and I'll turn on shadow catcher. And you'll notice that when I click it, everything disappears apart from the shadows and the reflections, which is perfect. That's exactly what we want. Now, the problem is these shadows are black and white. In this instance, it's not particularly important because the objects don't have very bright colors. But I'm going to show you how to render these in color as well, these reflections. But there we go. We've got the shadow and we've got the reflections in there, and we can modify the material's roughness to make it match the roughness of the reflections that are being cast in reality. So for example, we can see we've got the table here reflecting in there, and it's not perfectly mirror-like. It's a little bit blurry. So I can increase the roughness to make sure that the 3D reflections are of a similar blurriness as that. So I'll just turn the roughness up a little bit, maybe to about there. And I think that's a better match now for the actual reflections in the photograph.